What's up, guys? JR Raymond back again, right back at MRB Classic Pro Shop, where I need to do a part 2 to the urethane video, because I'm getting an awful lot of people who are saying, making certain comments, and I want to make sure that everybody kind of understands where a lot of these guys are coming from when they're talking about the way the bowling balls change the lanes so much as far as the urethane balls. So this is going to be the urethane part 2. But the way the lane, a lot of people, the biggest thing that I'm seeing people say is, well, these guys are professionals. They should be able to make adjustments, this and that. And that's true. I absolutely 100% agree with that. You should be able to make adjustments. But it's not about adjustments at this point. When it comes to the bowling balls and the playing field, when the playing field doesn't become fair, and I put that in quotes, fair, because there really is no fair playing field in bowling, because every pair is going to be different no matter what, because of topography and everything else. But for the most part, you try to make it as fair of a playing environment as possible, and those playing environments get manipulated because of the types of bowling balls people are using, the surface people are using, where they're playing. So there's arguments that can go in all kinds of different directions when it comes to this. But the biggest argument against urethane, and the reason why urethane is kind of frowned upon at times, is because of how they change the lane. And you're kind of at the discretion. And again, remember, these guys, the PBA guys, they're not bowling on that same pair. They're not bowling on their starting pair. They're not only bowling against the people that they're bowling with. They're bowling against the entire field on all of the pairs of lanes. And they're moving from lane to lane, from pair to pair. So if you're starting on a pair where nobody's using urethane, okay, and you bowl 250 because the reaction is really, really good, and then you go to the next pair where there's 3 or 4 people using urethane on that pair, now all of a sudden your first shot misses the head pin right. Now that's where the whole thing comes in, where they say, well, you should be able to make adjustments. Agreed, they should be able to make adjustments. But here's the thing. When the pairs are really good, you can shoot 250. When the pairs are not so good, or when urethane is moving oil down the lane and taking it away from the front, now it makes you play different parts of the lane, and getting your bowling ball or creating the ball reaction that you're trying to create is very, very difficult, and you only have a few frames to figure it out in order to put up a big enough score. So when the entire field who are bowling on pairs that don't have urethane on them are bowling 250, and now you go to a urethane pair where you now have to find a way to shoot 250, your likelihood of shooting that big score are very slim. It's going way down, because now your the ball reaction it gets lessened and lessened. So you have to bowl a magnificent game just to bowl 220. So now you could be bowling a really, really good game of 220, making the right adjustments, but your carry gets kind of hindered because of how much oil's down lane all of a sudden, while other people are on the other lanes bowling 250. So now you've just caught a pair, or maybe you don't make the adjustments properly and you bowl 170. Well, now you just caught a pair that just sets you back 60 or 70 pins on the field, and now you got to hope you catch some good pairs, and now you got to shoot 270 or 280 just to catch up with the guys that are shooting 250, because the scores are pretty high. So now it comes into a playing field disadvantage. If you catch the wrong pairs at the wrong time, following the wrong people at the wrong time, you're in trouble. So that's where the other argument comes in. Well, resin changes the lanes too. So if people are playing the lanes way in and screwing the lanes up in the middle part of the lane when they should be playing right, and they're not breaking them down properly, you catch a bad pair as well. Agreed, 100% that is the case. It happens all the time, but it's not as dramatic and it's not as drastic as what you see out of a urethane pair. I'll use an example. When I bowled one of the stops in Aurora, and it was funny, it was actually at Sean Rash's tournament in Aurora, Illinois. I went and bowled 250 the first game. We were on a shorter pattern. I think it was the 37-foot pattern or something. So it wasn't really short, but there was a lot of urethane going on the lane. Well, my pair didn't use urethane at all. I crossed with Prather and a couple other guys. I forget who it was. But we didn't use urethane at all. And we broke them down. We played pretty good. I bowled 250 the first game. And I moved down. It was like 6 pairs to the left, and my first ball missed the head pin right. Not even exaggerating, and missed the head pin right, playing them the same. Now, it's not like I was really hooking the ball. I was going fairly straight up the lane in the track, probably about 10, 11, 12, throwing it to about 4, 5, 6 down lane, and my ball wiggled and went dead straight down lane, and I missed the head pin and washed out. So the adjustment from there, you try to move right because of the tightness, but the problem is you're moving into dry part of the lane because the urethane bowling balls are taking up that oil. So now you have to go left into portions of the lane. Let me show you. So what it means is, So this is your pattern here. You've got the lane here. This is a fresh pattern, and assumably all of the patterns look like this from the beginning. Everybody's bowling on the same thing. You got guys that are bowling and they're throwing shots in here. Okay, so you can see. So this is the demonstration of like a reactive ball going down lane, and you see, you know, little streaks here and there going down the lane. So now you get a little bit of carry down reactive. But then when you go and you take a urethane ball, now the urethane ball, whoop, there goes the oil there, whoop, there goes the oil there, and now here comes the blotch of oil down there from urethane. So now what do you got to do? So you were playing here, okay, and you were throwing the ball to this spot, but now your ball hangs and goes this way, right? So you're playing here, getting your ball, and it hangs and it goes that way, where normally it hooked into the pocket. So now if you try to move right, now you're moving into this dry, so now your ball hits this dry right here, and it hooks immediately, and now it's off target and it goes through this way, okay? So you got to get away from the dry, and somehow you have to play that. So your only choice is to go left away from that hang. So now you got to go here, you got to go left, and you have to throw the ball here inside of all that hang and try to hit the pocket. Now look at the difference in your entry angle. Now your entry angle goes way down, and you're going to see a lot of deflection. Your ball's going to go that way. Whereas when your ball was coming in from over here, the ball was going through the pins that way. So your carry percentage goes way up. So it forces you to play the lanes in a part of the lane that it just, your scores will go down unless you can find some magic trick to get it to happen. And as good as these guys are, you know, going back and forth, hitting different pairs, hitting bad pairs, hitting good pairs, that's what makes it so difficult. It doesn't even matter how good these guys are, because if you catch a pair like this where it's destroyed down lane and there's nothing but just solid oil to the right because there's been urethane balls just going through here like crazy, you're going to have problems getting your ball to hook from there, and it's going to force you to either A, try to go around it, which you really can't because the urethane balls are played from such a far angle to the right that all the oil is pushed mostly all the way to the gutter for the most part, unless you're bowling on something short. If you're bowling on short, it's not as much of an issue because everybody's playing over there anyway. So you're getting reactive, you're getting urethane, you're getting everything over there as well. And there's designed hook spots on the gutter, like you saw on Wolf the other day. There's a designed hook spot where if you throw it to the gutter, you know, your bowling ball is not going to carry the oil all the way out to the gutter. So your objective was to throw it dead right into this hook spot over here and get it to come off of the dry, like Sean did really well. And you saw the urethane guys, they weren't quite throwing it dead to the gutter. They were throwing it just left of that because the urethane doesn't have the down lane motion to be able to go through the pins as well as what his reactive ball did going off the gutter. So it's a little bit different, but that's the problem, and that's what I was trying to get at, and that's what he's saying. You know, the urethane balls change, and I'm not against either way. I don't care. You can keep urethane balls. It makes it really difficult when you go to a pair where people are using urethane, and you do feel like you're at a little bit of a disadvantage if you're following pairs that have urethane, especially out there where the scores are high. If you're bowling a local tournament or something and you catch it, no big deal. Your 180 or 190 on that pair is still going to be within 10 or 15 pins of the leaders anyway, because you know the talent level is not nearly as high as what you see out of the PBA guys. So you're kind of at the discretion of hoping you catch the right pairs at the right time. So I hope this kind of helps you understand kind of where they're coming from a little bit. I mean, I get what they're saying, and I agree to it to an extent, but I'm not so sure I agree with banning urethane. But I don't know. I don't know that there is an answer for it because it's a bowling ball. It's a tool that can be used. But again, like I said in the last video, a lot of guys are using it as a crutch, you know, to try and because they don't want to have to shut their angles down, or if they shut their angles down, they have to go to that because they can't back out of their hand or whatever it may be. And I'm not talking about PBA guys. I'm talking about, you know, a lot of league bowlers who they feel like the lane's hooked too much, so they go to urethane, and there just needs to be a little bit of education. We need more Mo Pinnells in the world to try and teach people how to, you know, lay out bowling balls, reactive bowling balls, to do the proper thing rather than trying to go straight to urethane. And because you're going to get a good score out of it. I had somebody message me earlier today. They said, well, what do I use my my Motive tank, and I don't know what to go to because when I move left, my ball goes 60 feet once that ball starts to hook too much. Well, yeah, that's the problem. Well, not only does it not hook when you move left, but now a reactive ball isn't going to hook when you move left because you're throwing it into all that oil that you just, all that oil you just created down lane. So now everybody's scores kind of suffer because we've just made the pattern that much more difficult. So the patterns change throughout the day. And one thing I want to mention is even though the patterns may have all started looking like this, you know, with no traction down lane, they may all start like this, and they may all look like this at the beginning. but there's only 2 spots in an entire block where the lanes will actually tape out and be similar all the way across the house. And that's in the beginning, before a ball is thrown, and then at the very end of a block, you'll see the lanes are actually fairly similar on most patterns you can get up to. But it's those middle games, it's those middle games that cause all the problems, where you see all the transition and the changes that it depends on which pair you hit and who you're following. That's going to determine your scoring pace and stuff. So I know a lot of people don't realize there's a lot more variables than just grabbing the right ball, playing the right line, using the right hand position. There's a lot more that goes into it than just that. There's so much more with who you're following and what they're using that determines what you need to do as well. And yes, you should be able to make those decisions. But again, certain bowling balls and certain things can make, even if you make the right decision, that right decision can only equal about a 210 or 220 score. But if the scoring pace is high, like most of the PBA scoring paces are, they're not high, but when they're higher, you're not going to have an easy time keeping up. But that's all I got. Sorry for such a long rant here, but I wanted to make sure to clarify that a little bit for all of you who say, well, you should be a good enough bowler to just adjust in this and that. I agree, but this is the reason why not. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Take care. Make sure to subscribe, share the video so people can kind of understand a little bit what we're talking about, and then also comment and like below. And we'll see you guys later. Take care.